be better.
I'm nice. Oh, that works. Imagine if you wasn't coming out and I just pointed at Yeah. That's what
Yeah, for real.
No, I did. I just wanted you guys to be quieter thinking.
No way.
We are about to start with 2 people sitting. It was Avalon.
At least you gaslit us with a purpose.
Yeah, we were gaslighting for a good purpose.
You should always be gaslighting for a purpose.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Menina edathea peleia Joachileos Solomen enhe muria kai salge eteke Polas tifti musu kasai di proiapsen heron Back then, I could sing. For days and nights, on and on, every battle, every old digression, I would sing and sing. In my Mycenae once, I sang for a year. You don't believe me. In Babylon, I sang it differently, but the crowds came. In Alexandria, I started to notice a few empty seats, but I still sang it. Shorter, though, 3 or 4 days. You know what went down really well? Gaul. There was something about those people, they had a real taste for it. Of course, they tried to take the whole thing over. They used to climb up on tables and sing along, and they were hard to control. They'd go outside screaming, building fires. Terrible. Every time I sing this song, I hope it's the last time. Oh, sing to me now! Oh, you muses! In the halls of Olympus, you are goddesses. You are everywhere. You know everything. All we hear is a distant ring of glory. Sing! In the old days, we'd be in a tavern or a bar, I guess you'd say. It's always so much easier to talk about these horrors in a bar. This is the story of the Trojan War and 2 great fighters, Achilles and Hector. Oh, muses, menina editha peleia Joachileos Solomon. Rage. Goddess, sing the rage of Peleus' son Achilles, murderous, doomed that cost the Achaeans countless losses, hurling down to the house of death so many sturdy souls, great fighters' souls, but made their bodies carrion, feast for the dogs and birds. But what caused them to fight with such a fury? The gods, of course, pride, honor, jealousy, Aphrodite. Some game or other. An apple? Helen being more beautiful than somebody. Look, it doesn't matter. The point is, Helen's been stolen. The Greeks have got to get her back. It's always something, isn't good story. And I remember a lot of it. I remember a lot of it. So imagine a beach, rocky, jagged, about a mile and a half inland. Imagine a city, stone ramparts protecting it. This city was called Troy, and from the walls of this city, Hector can see the water down by the beach, and that water's just filled with all kinds of ships. It's crowded with all kinds of Greek ships. This is where my story takes place, ages ago. But who were the captains of those Greek ships? Who were the captains of the Achaeans? The massive troops I could never tally. I mean, I could if I had 10 tongues and 10 mouths, if I had a heart made of me bronze. Yes, a heart made of me bronze. And if I could actually remember everybody, if I could actually remember everybody's name, sing in memory all who gathered under Troy. The list of ships, the number of men on each ship. Muses? Here goes. First came the Boeotians, led by Laetus and Peneleus, Arcesilaus, Prothoenor and Clonius shared command of the armed men who lived in Hyria, rocky Aulis, Thespia and Graea, the dancing rings of Mycalessus, men who lived round Harma, Elysian, Erythrae, Copae, Eutresis, and Thisbe thronged with doves. Okay, all right, it's coming back to me now. Fighters from Coronea, Haliartus deep in meadows, and the men who held Plataea but lived in Glesis, men who held the rough-hewn gates of lower Thebes, Onchestus the holy, Poseidon's sun-filled grove, and the men from the town of Arn, green with vineyards, and then... That's right. You don't know any of these places. These names mean something to me. I knew these boys. You see, the point is, on all these ships, there are boys from every small town in Ohio, from farmhouse, from fishing villages. The boys of Nebraska and South Dakota, the twangy boys of Memphis, the boys of San Diego, Palo Alto, Berkeley, Antelope Valley. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, you have soldiers from Kansas. You have soldiers from Lawrence, Kansas. You have soldiers from Springfield, Illinois, Evanston, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, Brooklyn, New York, Buffalo, New York, Cooperstown, New York, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, the Bronx, the South Bronx. You have soldiers from Florida, from the Panhandle, from Eglin, from Tyndall. You have soldiers from South Florida with its evangelists and snake charmers on the Okeechobee. You have soldiers from Miami who speak Spanish, Miami who speak French, Miami who speak English. You have Puerto Rican soldiers. There are soldiers from Texas, from the Flatlands, from Dallas, from Plano, from Houston. There are soldiers from Tennessee, from Western Tennessee, from the mountains in Virginia, the mountains in Seattle, from Flint, Michigan, from Escanaba, it's in the thumb, Benton Harbor. That's it. You get the point. Known and unknown. We're talking tens of thousands of men emptied out of the Greek Isles. Picture these men and these ships. So many ships. I mean, we're talking 50, 40, 40, 40, 50, 80, 100, Agamemnon. 60, 40, 40, 12, Odysseus, 80, 30, 50, Achilles, 11, 40, 30, and these are ships I'm counting, not men. 40, 40, 90, Nestor, that's how many? How many? It's hundreds and hundreds of ships. That's 120 men on each ship. We're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Greek men. Do you see? So here we are. 9 Muses, don't make me do this alone. "9 years. Fighting on and off, fighting to the wall and back. Greeks win one day, Trojans win the next, like a game of tug-of-war with nothing to show but poverty, exhaustion, and loneliness. What was it like? It was a pain. It was awful. It was hot. How about that? It was hot. 9 years. So when you left home, your baby was 1. You come back and your baby's 10. You left, your baby was 1. You come back, your baby's dead. You come back, your wife is dead. You come back, your wife is fat. You come back, your wife's had 3 affairs and 2 more children. It's like, oh, hi, honey. Oh, don't get mad, don't get mad. You know what I mean? Or you come back and the farm is ruined. Or they came and took over while you were hanging out at Troy, and now you're no longer Greek. You're Diocletian or whatever. You're Spartan now. They came and took over and took the whole thing over while you were hanging out in Troy, and now you have no title to your land anymore. Your father died while you were away, and we don't wear those leggings anymore. We stopped wearing them like that a long time ago. And so you know what I mean? Like, after 9 years of this, they want to go home. They've forgotten why they're fighting, but what humiliation it would be to hold out for so long and then sail home empty-handed. But how do you know when you've won? Someone once said, how do you ask a person to be the last person to die for a losing cause? And I'm paraphrasing, but the idea being, so you're in the supermarket line and you've been waiting there 20 minutes and the other line starts moving faster. Do you switch lines now? Oh, heck no. I've been waiting 20 minutes. I'm waiting in this line. I don't care if I wait. And look, I am not leaving because otherwise I've wasted my time. Courage, my friends. Hold out just a little longer. So all this time, of course, the gods were watching. Way up on Mount Olympus. And some of them cheered on the Greeks, woo, Achilles! And some of them cheered on the Trojans, Hector, woo, 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 like sports fans. And really, back then, this was their only entertainment. They were addicted to it. They couldn't allow it to end, and so they'd swoop down and they'd pinch and prod and whisper just to make sure the battles kept raging. The old gods. You remember Zeus, his wife Hera, Apollo, Athena. Well, they haven't been around. Where do the old gods go? That's a song. Where do the old gods go when they die? I don't know. There's one in the gin bottle, there's one in the vodka bottle. Spirits. Oh, look. Athena's in the tequila. Athena tequila. Gods never die. They change. They burrow inside of us. They become us. They become our impulses. Lust, Aphrodite. Mischief, Hermes. A good idea, Athena. Athena tequila. Very good. Oh, the things that gods could do to us. Muses! 9 years in. We're all camped out on that beach bad enough. Only now it's night and men are suddenly getting very sick. One minute they're polishing their boots, the next they're choking on black blood. Down the beach there's a massive fire burning, but the fire isn't wood, it's corpses. They're burning the corpses of men and mules and dogs. They've all been infected by plague. What is going on? I'll tell you. We've angered the gods. Our leader, our commander, Agamemnon, has taken as the spoils of war this girl, gorgeous, 15 years old. And she happens to be the daughter of a priest of Apollo. The old man goes to Agamemnon with cart piled high. Please, take these gifts, this ransom. Just please give me back my daughter. Agamemnon says no. The priest promises to pray for the Greeks if only he'll give him his daughter back, but Agamemnon says no. All of the Greek leaders, they go to Agamemnon, they beg him to give her back, but Agamemnon says no. The priest is heartsick. He goes to Apollo, and Apollo gets mad. Have you ever seen an angry god? Apollo takes these arrows and he covers the tip in sickness and in plague. Nasty stuff. And the arrows clanged at his back as the god quaked with rage. Over against the ship, he dropped to a knee, let fly a shaft, and a terrifying crash rang out from the great silver bow. Ftung, 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 infection, ftung, disease, ftung, death, ftung. There's only one way to end the plague. Agamemnon has got to give the girl back. I won't give up the girl. Well, he's their leader. No one's going to tell him what to do. And so the Greeks call a grand assembly, and all the factions, and all the tribes, and all the warriors gathered, and the meeting ground shook. And everybody's just kind of buzzing like bees, you know, because they're angry, and they're frightened, and they're sick of the plague. And then Agamemnon sweeps in. And the men all shout, respect the priest, take the ransom, give her back. And then one guy shouts, quiet, quiet, quiet. King of men, Agamemnon is speaking. Silence. Agamemnon takes the scepter and rises. Okay. I'm willing to give her up if that's what you all want. I'm not a tyrant. I can see it's best for everyone if I do, but fetch me another prize and straight off too. Else I alone of the Argives go without my honor. That would be a disgrace. And the men are just kind of murmuring like, there's no prizes left. They've all been portioned out. Like someone has to give up their own prize. But then suddenly, a huge figure rises in the back. This is our man, Achilles. In the middle of all this misery, there's one genius. Achilles is the greatest fighter that ever lived. He's bigger than Heracles, bigger than Sinbad, bigger than, who's the greatest fighter living now? He's not just good at killing, it's that he's good at the art of war. You have to understand that he's half mortal, but he's also half god. His mother Thetis is a sea nymph. He was raised by a centaur. You know, amazing things like his ability he can understand animals. Animals talk to him. His horse, I can't remember the horse's name, but his horse talked to him. I remember one time his horse sat him down, and he was no. Achilles was just sitting there, just really overeating, and the horse was like, whoa! Man, we all laughed and laughed. Oh yes, and Achilles knows he's going to die here in Troy. He doesn't know when, he doesn't know how, but he knows he won't be going home. That's been prophesied. Achilles will have a brief but glorious life. Imagine living with that. This is Achilles. Here he is. Just how, Agamemnon, great field marshal, most grasping man alive, how can the generous Argives give you prizes now? I know of no troves of treasure piled lying idly anywhere. Whatever we dragged from the towns we plundered, all's been portioned out, but to collect it, call it back from the rank and file, that would be the disgrace. And oh, you shouldn't have said that. The men start shrinking back, leaving him alone to face the commander-in-chief. You can't talk to me that way, even if you're the bravest fighter we have. Oh, you're so gifted. You're such a great warrior. Oh, well, you're half god, but I'm only a man, and I'll show you who's greater. What do you want? To cling to your own prize while I sit calmly by empty-handed here? I'll take what I want. Give me Briseis. Now, Briseis is someone that Achilles has won fair and square. And he's not only won her, he's come to love her. Briseis cooks for him, she sleeps with him, she's become dear to him. Don't give me commands. The Trojans never did me damage, not in the least. Oh, you colossal, you shameless. We all followed you, to please you, to fight for you, to win your honor back from the Trojans. Menelaus and you dog face, the men all gasped. Never once did you arm with the troops or go to battle, or risk an ambush. No, you lack the courage. You can see death coming. Safer by far you find to foray all through camp, commandeering the prize of any man who speaks against you. King who devours his people. I've no mind to linger here disgraced, bringing up your cup and piling up your plunder. He starts to leave. Desert by all means if the spirit drives you home. I will never beg you to stay, not on my account, but let this be my warning on your way. I will be there in person at your tent to take Briseis in all her beauty, your own prize, so you may learn how much greater I am than you, and the next man up may shrink from matching words with me. Achilles, he flies into a rage, he grabs the scepter, and so the scepter is like it's like a talking stick. Whenever we want to say anything official, we grab the scepter. It's like the origins of the democratic process and all that. And so Achilles takes it. He's like, by this scepter, this mighty oak that will never again flower, I swear I will never fight again. Let all the Greeks die. Let all the men be swept, and not until you, Agamemnon, come to me on your knees, blubbering, repenting, wishing you had never said these words. You can eat your heart out. You can eat your words. I will never fight again. Trojan Hector will slaughter you all. You dare to humiliate me? He raises a hand to Agamemnon. All the men are staring. What is he doing? And then suddenly, his head yanks back. And the men can't see what Achilles can see. Athena has grabbed him by the back of the head. She leans in and whispers, hold back. You can't kill Agamemnon. And Achilles says, why? And she says, obey. Achilles has no choice. He takes the scepter and to the ground, smashes it in pieces. Not really, but furious. None of you at this meeting will speak for me? Let's see how you do without me. And then he leaves, storms off, and all the Greek soldiers are just kind of going. And Agamemnon's like, well, who cares about him? And then he leaves. This is the rage of Peleus, the son Achilles. Menina Peleia to Achilleos. So there it is. That's how it starts. It's so infuriating. They take the girl to Agamemnon's tent, and Achilles wept. Slipping away from his companions far apart, he sat down on the beach of the heaving gray sea and scanned the endless oceans. So the war rages on, but Achilles stays in his tent, waiting, fuming, betting against his own side, the Greeks. So I wish I could show you a photograph of Troy, but here's what it was like. Walk through the skiing gates, and the first thing you see is a great plaza with a fountain. And there's flowing water everywhere. There's little waterfalls, little pools, and every house has its own pool. And that water is a form of music. And that music, it mingles with real music, flutes, lyres, singing. And so as you're walking through, you start to notice how every house is both private and public. Every house is a private area, but it spills into a common area. And so as you're walking through the city of Troy, you see everybody, but everybody sees you. They'll often have events. They like to have their concerts. They have public meetings. They have performances of all kinds. And there's this great sense of civic duty. And so they'll get together and they'll talk about, what do we do about the fig tree that's dying? Like, how do we save the fig tree? And then they'll have a committee and they'll talk about the fig tree. Respect for the family. The royal family, Priam and his sons. They've actually brought Troy peace. They've actually fought off invaders. They've actually given them a life that's stable. And so what you feel when you walk into Troy is this great sense of calm, this great sense of serenity. That was before the war, of course. But now, the man called Hector. Shining Hector. Man-killing Hector. Hectoros Hippodamoio. Hector, breaker of horses. It's always so hard to describe Hector. His little brother calls him a sharp axe, a sharp edge, always cleaving forward. Hector believes in institutions. He believes in his country. He believes in his family. He believes in the army. Isn't it funny how hard it is to describe a good man? He's a brave man, but deep down, he'd rather be taming horses. But Hector is the eldest. He's the firstborn. He's got more than 50 brother and sisters by various mothers. I can't remember all their names. I have to look that up. Hold on. One brother particularly. Every time he sees this brother Paris, he can't seem to stop yelling at him, and for good reason too, because Paris was the kind of Paris actually figured out a way to make the case that it was better for him to stay inside with the women than to go out and fight. And even when he did try to fight once, Aphrodite swooped down, picked him up by the scruff of his neck, wrapped him in a blanket made of fog, and tossed him back in Helen's bed. And he stayed there. That's who Paris was. And it's kind of like, well, you know, if I go out and if they capture me, you know, they're just going to hold me for ransom, and that'll put you in an awkward position, so better for me to stay in here, live out my days knowing I'm a coward. And you couldn't really say anything about that because you're like, hey, he already made the case for you. You're like, hey, you're a coward, but he just called himself a coward, so where are you going to go from there? You know what I mean? But everyone always wants to know more about Paris. Paris, tell us more about Paris. But Paris, he's really not that important. And yes, I know he stole Helen away from Menelaus and brought her to Troy, and that started the war. And yes, he was so handsome and everything, but he's just not that interesting. Not interesting to me. Not anymore. But Hector. You see, the thing about Hector, he's proud. He doesn't want anyone else to lead the charge for Troy. They've got allies come in from all over, but Hector won't let them lead their own tribes. He wants to be in charge. Hector is complicated, full of hubris, but also decent. He's a good husband and a good father. I mean, he's a lot like Tom. One terrible day, the Trojans are struggling because the Greek army is filled with all kinds of ferocious warriors, great Ajax, Diomedes, and even though Achilles won't fight, the Greeks are winning because Athena and, oh, don't even get me started, the gods have made a mess of things you wouldn't believe. Athena even puts on her helmet and fights for the Greeks, stabs her own brother Ares in the stomach, and he goes crying to Zeus, no, it is a mess. But on this day, the Greeks, with the help of Athena, they hack and chop and decimate the Trojans, driving them back toward their city walls. Hector and his brothers, they try to hold their ground, but they keep getting pushed back. And Hector becomes afraid that the Trojan soldiers might lose their nerve and run away and hide inside the gates and walls. And so Hector and one of his brothers, they realize they've got to get Athena on their side. So Hector runs alone back toward Troy to ask the citizens to pray to Athena. His mother, Hecuba, she sees him, runs up, grabs his hand. Oh, my dear child, why have you left the bitter fighting? Why have you come home? Oh, look how they wear you out. But wait here, I'll bring you honeyed mellow wine. When a man's exhausted, wine will give him strength. Don't give me mellow wine, not now, mother. You'd sap my limbs. I'd lose my nerve for war. No, pray to the gods. Ask Athena to stop helping the Greeks. And he runs on. But then, the face that launched 1,000 ships, Helen, she sees him. Oh, dear brother, Dear to me, witch that I am, vicious, scheming horror to freeze the heart. Oh, how I wish that first day my mother brought me into the light, some black whirlwind had rushed me off to the mountain. But since the gods ordained it all, these desperate years, I wish I'd been the wife of a better man. Come, rest on this seat with me, dear brother. It's you who've been hit hardest by all the fighting, Hector, you more than all. And all for me, and this blind, mad, Paris whore that I am. Oh, the two of us. But Hector doesn't have time for this. The only one he wants to see is his wife Andromache and his son Astyanax, who's maybe 6 months old. So he runs to his house, they're not there. He looks everywhere for them, he can't find them, and he's starting to panic when someone tells him they're up in the tower on the walls of the city. And so he runs up there, still in his full armor. And there they are. His wife Andromache and his baby boy. Hector smiles. That's a rare thing. Hector, why are you just staring at us? Can't you speak? What are you doing home in the middle of the day? Is the war over? No. It's a bad day for us. No, I've come home to start the prayers. Oh. Hector, listen to me, please. You're all I have left. Achilles has killed my mother, my father, my brothers. Now I have only you and our child. I'm begging you, stay with me here on the ramparts. Why can't you draw up your army by that fig tree down there where the gate is weakest? You know they've attacked us 3 times at that very spot where the wall is low. But that would make me look like a coward. I can't retreat. Even though every night I wake in sweat dreaming of you, widowed and enslaved. And the boy, Hector reaches for the baby, but Astyanax suddenly wails, "Ah! Whoa, what'd I do? It's your helmet, take it off. Hey, shh. Hey, don't be afraid. That's okay, hey. That's just Daddy's helmet. One day you'll wear a helmet like that. One day you'll be an even greater soldier than your father. Oh, you'll ride on a big horse, a dark one, just like mine. You'll fly through that horse, through the air. Oh, and you'll come home wearing the bloody gear of a mortal enemy you killed in battle. Enough. Reckless one. Your fiery courage will destroy you. Have you no pity for him, our helpless son? Or for me? Destiny that brings me down, your widow now so soon? Andromache, why so desperate? No man will hurl me down to death against my fate, and fate? No man alive escaped it, neither brave man nor coward. It's born with us the day that we are born. Hector, but if you stayed home, I have to go. Give me a kiss. Now go home now, love. No, don't cry. Pray. So Hector put on his heavy helmet and went back to the front line. Have you ever seen a front line? I want to show you what that bloody field looked like, what Hector went back to just then with all those other boys scattered across it. I've got a picture in here somewhere. It's from another war, but I can't. Outside the trenches, where there'd been a particularly bad day, and this is 100 years ago or so, but you get the idea. And this battlefield is just littered with bodies. And you look at that and you're like, oh man, that's a lot of bodies. But it isn't just bodies. Because this is Jamie, this is Matthew, this is Brennan, and this is Paul. This is Scotty. He was 19. He was 21. He was 18. Brennan was meant to go to Oxford. He got a scholarship because of his writing. His father was a postman. He was going to be the first person in his whole family ever to go to university. But he didn't. You see. This is the battle I want to tell you about now, because the women of Troy prayed, and their prayers seem to work. And the Trojans are fighting like never before, and still no Achilles. And that begins to take its toll on the Greeks. This is what that war looked like. At last the armies clashed at one strategic point. They slammed their shields together, pike scraped pike with the grappling strength of fighters armed in bronze. Their round shields pounded, boss on welded boss, and the sounds of struggle roared and rocked the earth. Screams of men and cries of triumph breaking in one breath. Fighters killing, fighters killed, and the ground streamed blood. Wildly as two winter torrents raging down from a mountain, they swirl into a valley, hurling their great waters together, plunging into a gorge. And miles away in the hills, a shepherd hears the thunder. So from the grinding armies broke the cries and clash of war. And now terror, and now rout, and relentless strife storm too. Sister of man-slaughtering Ares, Ares' comrade at arms. Strife, so small a thing when first she rears her head, but her head soon hits the sky as she strides across the earth. And now strife hurls down the leveler, hate amidst both sides, wading into the onslaught, flooding them with pain. I could never come up with the right epithet for Patroclus. Son of Menetius? Horseman? You know what I should call him, I suppose? Friend. Patroclus was Achilles' friend. He was his only friend. They were boyhood friends. Patroclus had been sent by his own family to live with Achilles' family. I mean, he's slightly older than Achilles. He's good with horses, practical. His father said to Patroclus, "It's your duty to take care of Achilles. You're wiser than he is. He'll listen to you." And so, really, Achilles and Patroclus were more than just friends. They were brothers. And really, they were more than brothers. They loved each other. At night, when Achilles couldn't sleep, Patroclus would hold him. That kind of thing. Friends. Now, Patroclus is a good fighter. But when Achilles retreats to his tent, Patroclus stops fighting too. There's no question his first allegiance is to his friend. But on this day when Trojans are slaughtering Greeks left and right, and the Trojans have gotten past the Greek ramparts, and they've crashed through all the Greek defenses, and Patroclus has been running up and down the beach, watching the bodies being carried, but there's nowhere to carry them, and he sees that Odysseus is wounded, and Agamemnon is wounded, and the one medic is wounded, and he just can't take it anymore. He runs to Achilles' tent. Don't be mad at me, but your anger is making you blind. Can't you see Hector's destroying us? Is your heart made of iron? If you won't fight, drive the Trojans back, then let me. Give me your armor. They might think I'm you. I'll take that chance, but you are wrong. You'll be remembered as a fool if you won't fight this day. But I swore. I won't break my word. I won't fight for Agamemnon, even if the Trojans sweep into my own tent. It's not even my anger now. It's the thought of breaking my word. I can't do it. But you, that's a good idea. You fight in my place. The whole city of Troy comes trampling down on us, daring wild. Why? They cannot see the brow of my helmet flash before their eyes. But if you put on my armor, they'll think I'm back. Just the thought I'm back in the battle will send them running in terror. Here, take my breastplate, my greaves, and my helmet. But promise me this. You must only fight until you drive the Trojans back from our ramparts. No further. Do not press close to the Trojan walls. Not without me. I promise. Can you see it now? Can you? The young Patroclus, I can't help it. I always see him as young. He's too small for Achilles' armor, so he's just kind of rattling around inside of him. Patroclus, oh my rider. Straight at the pressing Trojan ranks you swooped. And at first he does as he's promised. sight of Achilles' armor. The Trojans see it, and they lose their nerve, they panic, and Patroclus drives them back from the Argive ships, and then further. He's good at this, Patroclus. He never knew he was so good at this. He's gifted, and he breathes in the smell of blood and bronze. And he's been waiting 9 years to show what he's made of. And here he is, wearing Achilles' armor, and it feels good! You know that feeling when, for whatever reason, you could just kill somebody? Right then and there, you could just kill them! You could tear their head off. You could rend them limb from limb. Your guy in front of you cuts you off. You just ram him with your car. You don't care about it. And you could see the charred metal, and you could see the smoking thing, and you see the airbag, and you hope that airbag smothers it. And if it doesn't, you'll get out and you'll go, "You idiot! Why did you cut me off?" Glints of a spear tore his opponent's chest, stabbing the right jawbone, ramming the spearhead square between the teeth so hard. Hoisted, dragged the Trojan, fury bursting his heart. Mouth gaping, flipped him down face first, dead as he fell. Lunging in, he flung a rock, struck between the eyes, crushed both brows. Skull caved in, and both eyes burst from their sockets. Nothing can stop Patroclus now. He's a killing machine, my God. Patroclus and his men, hungry as the wolves that bolt and rend raw flesh, their heart filled with battle frenzy that never dies. They gorge on the kill, and all their jaws drip red with blood, belching bloody meat. And the fury, never shaken, builds inside their chest, though their glutted bellies burst. It's a blur of kills. One man slashed, another gored, another hammered, another splintered, sinew shredding, bronze ripping, split the belly, razor slicing, another cutting away the tongue. One guy cracked through the bony socket and then wrenched the whole arm out, impaled. More, ripped, more, stabbed, more, chopped, smashed, hewed, slashed, hacked, and the whole earth red hot with blood, 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 and red death, and it feels good! Oh my God, it's not that. I'm sorry. Sometimes This is why I don't do this. This is why I don't do this. So Patroclus piled corpse upon corpse on the earth that rears us all. And then, impossibly, in the middle of it all, I was never quite sure what happened. His helmet fell off. Some of his armor fell off. Patroclus suddenly shoved to the ground like some massive force hit him. Something hit him. His helmet didn't fit anyway. His armor didn't fit anyway. I mean, even to put it on, he had to shove rags in his head and rags in his chest just to keep me on, you know? It's not his armor, it's Achilles. And Achilles has like 400 pounds on him or whatever. And so Patroclus, after always struggling, he's lost his helmet. He's lost his armor. And you know what some people said at the time was that Apollo knocked it off him. That Apollo was on the Trojan side. And that Apollo just came up behind him and with his little finger in his helmet, and Apollo kind of goes, and the straps of his breastplate broke off. And it fell off. So Patroclus gets up and just kind of goes, totally exposed. And then from out of nowhere comes this guy, this Dardan, this nobody. He's never fought before. I think this is his first day fighting, and he's doing pretty well, running around. I think he's killed like 9 people so far, knocked 5 chariot riders off their things. And he takes his spear, and he literally happens to be behind Patroclus, and he just goes, shot, right through him. And Patroclus, like he doesn't even feel it. He just kind of goes. And he sees this kid, this Dardan. And the Dardan takes his spear, pulls it back out, and runs away. Then, Patroclus, the end of life came blazing up before you. Hector sees Achilles' armor, and Hector makes his move. He comes running at him from, I don't know how far away, but he gets up a full head of steam. He comes running at him. He takes his spear, and how did it work? What we say is that it went up his bowels, and the sharp point went jutting straight out through Patroclus' back, and Patroclus crashed to the ground. And Hector begins to rage. Patroclus! Surely you thought you would storm my city down and wrest from the wives of Troy their day of freedom. You fool! Not for all his power could Achilles save you now. Oh, but how he must have filled your ears with orders. You maniac! You obeyed! And Patroclus, holding his body together with his hand, Patroclus curses Hector. You won't live long yourself, I swear. Already I can see them. Grim death, looming up beside you in the strong force of fate to bring you down. Death cut him short. The end closed in around him. Flying free of his limbs, his soul went winging down to the house of death. But Hector can't seem to stop yelling at him. Even though he's dead, you think you know my fate? Why should I fear death? Death is on my side. He is my brother. Together we will devastate you. We will murder all Greeks. With that, he planted a heel against Patroclus' chest, grabbed the spear and wrenched the brazen spear from the wound, kicking him over, flat on his back. And then he begins to tear the rest of Achilles' armor off the dead body, savagely, awkwardly, crying out like an animal. Hector is a good man. He's an honorable man. But in that moment, that's how it happens. We all think to ourselves, we look at him and say, no, I'm not like that. That's not me. No, I'm peaceful. And then it happens anyway. Some trick in our blood. Rage. You see? A black cloud of grief came shrouding over Achilles. Overpowered in all his power, sprawled in the dust, Achilles suddenly loosed a terrible, wrenching cry. Ah! And his noble mother heard him. This is what Achilles says to his mother. He's dead. And I sent him out there. It should have been me! What do I do now? If only strife could die from the lives of gods and men, an anger that stirs the sanest man to flare in outrage, bitter gall, sweet as dripping streams of honey that swarms in people's chests and blinds like smoke. Just like the anger Agamemnon, king of men, has roused within me now. Enough. Let bygones be bygones. Done is done. Now I'll go and meet that murderer head on, that Hector, who destroyed the dearest life I know. You have no armor? Hector, where's your armor now? Here, Sit here, sit. Wait. His mother goes to Hephaestus, the crippled god of fire, and asks him to make new armor for Achilles. Hephaestus waves his hand and tripods swing into place. He waves his hand again and 20 bellows begin to pump and blow on the fire, and the coals start to turn white hot. Again and again he waves his hand, and tin, bronze, gold, silver fly through the air, plunging into cauldrons to be melted down for Achilles. A new breastplate, greaves for his legs, a helmet made of bronze, and a shield. The most magnificent shield I've ever seen. Hephaestus begins to fashion out an immense orb, a shield as big as a room, with the rivers of the ocean circling it. He puts the earth, the sky, the oceans, the sun, the moon, all the stars. He hammers out 2 cities on this shield. In one city, there's a wedding taking place, a bride being led down a hillock past trees to her nervous groom, a city at peace. The other city is a walled city, and outside a siege is taking place. 2 armies clash beside a river. He fashions a field, large with furrows, and he shows the horses tilling back and forth, and the farmers refreshing themselves with large cups of wine and honey, and a farmer leading the cattle home, and a lion attacks one of the bulls, and black blood pools at the bottom of the shield. A boy playing a lyre, heartbreaking music, a song for the dying day. A circle of boys and girls dancing, with a crowd gathered around them, clapping, singing, laughing. This is Achilles' new shield, and it gleamed with a beam that just, it went out so far. It's like you're out at sea, and so like when a sailor, he has to look at the shore to try to get his bearings, and he looks for a light, and you've got lighthouses now, but back then sometimes we only had one guy up on the hills, on the top of the mountain tending his sheep, and he's got this really, really strong light to try to keep the sailors safe. And so here you are, you're way out at sea, and then you see this light come flying out. That's what Achilles' shield looked like from a distance. It just bounced the light back, shot it way out like that. On like a champion stallion drawing his chariot full tilt, sweeping across the plain in easy, tearing stride. So Achilles hurtled on, driving legs and knees. And Hector was the first to see him coming, surging over the plain, blazing like a star. And I don't have to tell you, do I? The tide has turned because Achilles is back in the game. And the Greeks are winning, raging, driving the Trojans back inside their own walls. But there stood Hector, shackled fast by his deadly fate, holding his ground, exposed in front of Troy in the Scaean gates. This is what he looks like, and this is what he's thinking. No way out. If I hide inside the gates and walls, now my army's ruined. I would die of shame to face the men of Troy and the Trojan women trailing their long robes. No, better by far to stand up to Achilles, kill him, come home alive, or else die at his hand in glory out before the walls. But then he stops. Listen! But wait. What if I put down my studded shield and heavy helmet, prop my spear on the ramparts, and go forth, just as I am, to meet Achilles? Why, I could promise to give Helen back, yes, and all her treasures with her, all the riches Paris once hauled home to Troy inside the hollow ships. And they were the cause of all our endless fighting. And that's what we've all been thinking, isn't it? Isn't it? Just give her back. Yes, return it all to the sons of Atreus now to haul away, and then, at the same time, divide the rest with all the Argives, all the city holds. And I would take an oath for the Trojan royal council that we will hide nothing. Share and share alike the hoards our handsome citadel stores within its depths, and then... Why debate, my friends? Why thrash things out? No way to parley with that man, not now. Not from behind some oak or rock to whisper, like a boy and young girl. Lovers' secrets a boy and girl might whisper to each other. Better to clash in battle now, at once. And so he wavered, waiting there. But Achilles was closing in on him now like the god of war. The fighter's helmet flashed and high over his right shoulder, shaking the Pelian ash spear, that terror. And the bronze around his body flared like a raging fire or the rising, blazing sun. Hector looked up, saw him, started to tremble. His nerve gone. He could hold his ground no longer. He left the gates behind, and away he fled in fear. And Achilles flew at him, breakneck on in fury, with Hector running along the walls of Troy, fast as his legs would go. On and on they raced, passing the lookout point, passing the wild fig tree tossed by the wind, and always out under the ramparts. Down the wagon trail they careered until they reached the clear running springs where whirling Scamander rises up from his double wellspring, bubbling strong. Past these they raced, one escaping, one in pursuit, and the one who fled was great, but the one pursuing greater, even greater. Their pace mounting in speed like powerful stallions, so the two-man whirled 3 times around the city of Priam, sprinting at top speed. But Hector could never throw Achilles off his trail, the swift racer Achilles. Time and again he'd make a dash for the Dardan gates, trying to duck beneath the rock-built ramparts, hoping men on the heights might save him somehow, raining spears. But time and again, Achilles would intercept him quickly, heading him off, forcing him out across the plain, and always sprinting along the city side himself, endless as in a dream. When one man can't catch another, fleeing on ahead, and he can never escape, nor his rival overtake him, and the one can never run the other down in his speed, nor the other spring away. But how had Hector fled the fates of death for so long? This is the scale the gods use to weigh the fates of men. Zeus weighs the fates of Achilles and Hector, and this is a real actual thing, he's scaled. And down went Hector's day of doom, dragging him down to the strong house of death. And the gods left him. No more running from you in fear, Achilles. Now my spirit stirs me to meet you face to face. Now kill or be killed. But come, we'll swear to the gods, the highest witnesses. If Zeus allows me to last it out and tear your life away, I will give your body back to loyal comrades. Swear you'll do the same. Hector, stop. There are no binding oaths between men and lions. Wolves and lambs can enjoy no meeting of the minds. They are all bent on hating each other to the death. So with you and me. I wish you could see the way they looked at each other. What do they see? I wonder if he's scared. Sure, he may be yelling and waving his spear, but when it comes right down to it, he wants to stay alive. Why, I can't even imagine we can leave here. Go get drunk somewhere together and talk about, like, hey, do you remember that battle? What was it, like 4 days ago when we had you guys had us pinned against the wall, and then out of nowhere that young spearman got your charioteer and you guys got thrown? That was intense. Oh, yeah, and what about that bird that just came out of nowhere? That was kind of freaky. Oh, yeah. That thing had just landed right there in the middle of the battlefield. For a minute, we were all staring at it. Was that a heron? No, I think it was an egret. No, I think we call them herons. No, isn't the heron like with the blue tinge in the upper wing? No, I think we call that an egret. No. Whatever you may have been thinking, this is what he said. Now you'll pay it a stroke for all my comrades' grief. All you killed in the fury of your spear. With that, shaft poised, Achilles hurled, and his spear's long shadow flew. But seeing it coming, glorious Hector ducked away, crouching down, watching the bronze tent fly past and stab into the earth. You missed! The great godlike Achilles! All bluff, cunning with words, that's all you are. Well, now it's for you to dodge my brazen spear. With that, he hurled. and his spear's long shadow flew. And it struck Achilles' shield, a dead center hit. But off and away it glanced, and Hector seethed. His hurtling spear, his whole arm's power poured into a wasted shot. And he stood there, cast down. He had no spear in reserve. Yes, and Hector knew the truth in his heart. And the fighter cried aloud. My time has come. Already I see death, grim death, looming up beside me. No longer far away. No way to escape it now. Well, then let me die. But not without struggle. Not without glory, no. But in some great clash of arms that even men to come will hear of down the years. And on that resolve, Hector swooped now, swinging his whetted sword. And Achilles charged too, bursting with rage barbaric. And fire flared from the sharp tip of the point of the spear Achilles brandished high in his right hand, bent on Hector's death, scanning his splendid body, where to pierce it best. The rest of his flesh seemed all encased in armor, burnished, brazen, the armor Hector stripped from strong Patroclus when he killed him. That's right. Hector is wearing Achilles' armor, and so here's Achilles, spear in hand, and he's looking at himself in a way, at an image of himself. And he's looking for a weak spot. He knows exactly where that is because it's his armor. One spot lay exposed where neck bone lifts the collarbones off the shoulder. The open throat, where the end of life comes quickest. There, as Hector charged in fury, brilliant Achilles drove his spear, and the sharp point went jutting out clean through the tender neck. Hector crashed in the dust, and godlike Achilles gloried over him. Hector! Surely you thought when you stripped Patroclus' armor that you were safe. Never a fear, far from the fighting as I was. You fool! Ah! The dogs and birds will maul you, shame your corpse, while Achaeans bury my dear friends in glory. And Hector, struggling to breathe, Hector says, no, I beg you, by your parents, by your life, don't let the dogs devour me by the Argive ships. Wait. Take this princely ransom of bronze and gold, the gifts my father and noble mother will give to you. Just give my body to friends to carry home again. Beg no more, you fawning dog. Begging me by my parents. Oh, I would to God my rage, my fury would drive me to hack your flesh away and eat you raw. Such agonies you have caused me. Ransom! The dogs and birds will rend you, blood and bone! I know you well. I can see my fate before me. Iron inside your chest, that heart of yours. Beware, else my curse draws the wrath of God down upon your head. That day when Paris and Lord Apollo, for all your fighters' heart, destroy you at the Scaean gates. Death cut him short. The end closed in around him, flying free of his limbs. His soul went winging down to the house of death. Now come, ye sons of Achaea, raise a song of triumph. Down to the ships we march and bear this corpse on high. We have won ourselves great glory. We have brought magnificent Hector down, that man the Trojans glorified in their city like a god. And so he triumphed. But now he was bent on outrage, on shaming noble Hector. Piercing the tendons, ankle to heel behind both feet. He knotted straps of rawhide through them both. He lashed them to his chariot, left the head to drag, and mounting his car, he whipped his team into a run, and breakneck on they flew, holding nothing back. And a thick cloud of dust swirled up from the head of the man they dragged. That dark hair swirling around that head, so handsome once, all tumbled low in the dust. And his whole head was dragged down into the dust. I mean, if you could have seen it, just a waste. It's like it was this terrible hot day. Okay, it was during the conquest of Sumer. Conquest of Sargon. Persian War. Peloponnesian War. War of Alexander the Great. Punic Wars. Gallic War. Caesar's invasion of Britain. Great Jewish revolt. Yellow Turban Rebellion. War against the Moors in North Africa. Roman-Persian War. Fall of Rome. Byzantine Arab War. Muslim conquest of Egypt. First siege of Constantinople. Arab-Chinese War. Saxon War. Viking raids across Europe. Bulgarian siege of Constantinople. Zond's rebellion in southern Iraq. Croatian-Bulgarian War, Viking Civil War, Norman conquest of England. First Crusade, Second Crusade, Third Crusade, Fourth Crusade, Children's Crusade, Fifth, Sixth, Seventh, Eighth, Ninth Crusade, Norman invasion of Ireland, Mongol invasion of China, Mongol invasion of Russia, Mongol invasion of Afghanistan, Mongol invasion of Vietnam, the 100 Years' War, Chinese domination of Vietnam, Polish-Lithuanian Teutonic War, Hunger Wars, fall of Constantinople, the War of the Roses, War of the Priests, the Muscovite-Lithuanian War, Spanish conquest of Mexico, Mughal conquest of India, the War of the Two Brothers, Spanish conquest of Peru, 30 Years' War, Pequot War, First, Second, Third English Civil Wars. Cromwell's conquest of Ireland, Cromwell's conquest of Scotland, the 335 Years' War, French and Indian War, Second Cherokee War, American Revolution, French Revolution, Haitian Revolution, the Napoleonic Wars, the Bolivian War of Independence, Argentine War of Independence, Mexican War of Independence, Venezuelan War of Independence, War of 1812, the Chilean, Colombian, Peruvian, and Ecuadorian Wars of Independence, Lower Canada Rebellion, Upper Canada Rebellion, the Second Seminole War, Mormon War, Pastry War, Honey War, First Anglo-Afghan War, First Opium War, Crimean War, American Civil War, Sioux War, Second Anglo-Afghan War, the Boer Wars, Cuban War of Independence, Spanish-American War, Mexican Revolution, World War I, Russian Revolution, Third Anglo-Afghan War, Irish War of Independence, Afghan Civil War, Japanese invasion of Manchuria, Saudi-Yemeni War, Spanish Civil War, World War II, Palestine Civil War, Arab-Israeli War, Cold War, Korean War, Cuban Revolution, Tibetan Rebellion, Vietnam, Bay of Pigs, Sand War, Six-Day War, Laos, Cambodia, the Troubles, Prague Spring, Nicaraguan Revolution, Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, Salvadoran Civil War, Contra War in Nicaragua, Second Sudanese Civil War, Iran-Iraq War, Falklands War, Israeli invasion of Palestine, U.S. invasion of Grenada, U.S. invasion of Panama, First Intifada, Afghan Civil War, Rwandan Civil War, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Chechnya, Afghanistan, Kosovo, Iraq, Chechnya, Afghanistan, Darfur, Rwanda, Iraq, Haiti, Pakistan, Lebanon, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Congo, Gaza, Somalia, Georgia, Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Ukraine. Hecuba opened its mouth. Because all this time, they were all watching. The Trojans up on the ramparts. His mother Hecuba, his father, his brothers, Helen. All the Trojans watching Hector die. And all along the ramparts, Hector's family wailed the grieving Hecuba. But his wife, Andromache, she wasn't at the wall. She was inside, weaving. She hadn't seen a thing. She was drawing his bath. She talked herself into the idea that he was going to come home. He'd need a bath. But then she hears the women wailing. She hears her mother-in-law's voice, and she recognizes that voice, but she's never ever heard that voice sound like that before. And her heart pounds and her legs go numb. Oh, I know it. Something terrible is coming down on Priam's children. And that's an awful moment, isn't it? It starts with a bad feeling or intuition. Or why did the phone ring at 3 o'clock in the morning? Or I didn't get a phone call. Or he didn't come home. Or it's getting late. It's really late. He should have been home by now. I should have heard something by now. The plane should have landed by now. He should have called. And so she sits out, trying to keep herself calm, trying not to panic. And then her heart starts racing, and she gets that weird throbbing feeling, and her eyes just kind of go kind of dim, and she can't actually see where she's going. And then she comes out, and even before she gets a chance to ask a question, she looks out across the plain, and she actually sees her husband dead, being dragged behind the chariot. And then she yells at him. Now you go down to the strong house of death, the dark depths of the earth, and leave me here alone to waste away in grief. A widow wandering the royal halls, and the boy only a baby. Hector, what help are you to him now that you're dead? What help is he to you? Think, even if he survives the wrenching horror of war against the Argives, pain and labor will plague him all his days to come. You know what she's really saying? She's saying, I told you so. Hector's body disappears in a cloud of dust. Achilles drags his prize to the Greek camp and dumps it in the sand next to the Argive ships. And the Greeks, they cheer and drink and celebrate. But Achilles' fury just won't end. And so he drags Hector's body round and round the tomb of Patroclus, day after day after day. And the thing you gotta ask yourself is it's been 10 days. What's there left to drag? But no, you'd be wrong, of course, because the gods look down and, oh, really, after all their meddling, after leaving Hector to die, well, now they change their minds. They wrap Hector's body in a magical shield of storm. Zeus loves him, after all. And so Hector's body is perfect, unharmed, sweet-smelling, impossible. So for 10 days, the Trojans have been watching from a distance, the dust cloud rising, the funeral pyres burning, the Greeks carousing and singing songs of the triumph of Achilles. And then Hector's father, Priam, decides to go, even though he's almost 80 years old, he decides to slog across the battlefields to ransom himself, his kingdom, all his treasure to Achilles, to get the body of his son back. He sets out with only one old charioteer in the middle of the night. It's dark and dangerous, and just as Priam and his driver start getting tired, a young man with fabulous sandals appears before them. What are you old guys up to? You're crossing into Greek territory now. You're about to cross enemy lines, and with a wagon full of treasure, you have lost your minds. But look, I'll help you. I'll show you the way. And Priam asks the young man who he is, but the young man just goes. They sweep unseen across the battlefield, past the ramparts, past the sentries, and when they reach the massive gate, so big it usually takes 8 men to push it open, the young man, their guide, just whistles, and the gates fly open. Old man, I'll tell you who I am. I am Hermes, and I can go no further. And then he's gone. Priam looks up, and he sees Achilles rising from the dinner table. It's like staring at the face of a deathless god. Breathtaking. Great Achilles, you are surprised to see me here, an old man. I am Priam, king of Troy. I have driven a wagon filled with treasure all the way here from my city. I will ransom everything. Look how I kneel at your feet. I have endured what no man on earth has ever done before. I put my lips to the hand of the man who killed my son. And Achilles, he says, you amaze me, old man. Get up! Don't kneel at my feet. You have a father. Remember your father. You are so far away from home. Your father is probably struggling right now. No one is there to help him. Your father needs you, and you are far away in Troy. What would he give to have you home again? I'm asking you as your father would ask me. Give me the body. Let me see my son. I never cried before I came to Troy. But in these last 40 days, I find myself crying almost every day. I have reason to cry, old man, and so do you. And so they both started to weep. Priam crying for his dead son, and Achilles crying for his aging father so far away, and for his dead friend Patroclus, and for himself. Enough! Enough grief, enough tears. What good will our tears do? I won't see my father again. You can't bring your son back to life. Give me my son! You took him from me. His body's lying down there on the beach, rotting. I've had enough of this. Let me see my son. Oh, don't make me mad. You don't know, old man. My heart was so full of rage. I'm sick of it, old man. Don't stir my rage. Don't make me angry, or I'll... And here's the thing. What I love singing and what I hope I can make you see is, for once, Achilles, who is addicted to rage, as so many of us are really when it comes right down to it. The fighting man, he feels the rage well inside his chest. And he makes it disappear. He just... How did he do that? Achilles lets go of his rage. And he goes outside. And he lifts up Hector in his hands. And Achilles lifted up Hector in his hands. And he laid him down in his father's wagon. Okay, it's done. I've laid him in your wagon, old man. No, don't rush out there now. My men will make you a bed out on the porch. And in the morning you will see him, and then you will take him home. And one more thing. How long do you need to bury Prince Hector? we would need time to set up the memorial. Our city is far from the hills. We would have to go out and haul in timber for the pyre. We would need 9 days to mourn him, and then we bury him on the 10th day. And then one more day to finish the tomb and hold a feast in his honor. 11 days. We would need 11 days. And then we could resume our fighting on the 12th day if it's absolutely necessary. Done. You'll have your 11 days. I'll tell the Greeks to stop fighting for 11 days. Put me to bed. So Priam reached out his hand and Achilles took him and led the old man to the porch. Priam slept, dreaming of his journey home. And Achilles slept, dreaming of his father. And the whole Greek army slept, dreaming of the next day's battle. And all the sentries guarding the walls of Troy slept. And all the Trojan civilians slept, and all the Trojan soldiers slept. Now in the countryside, the shepherds and the farmers and the animals slept. And on the Greek ships, the slavers and the oarsmen slept. And even way up on Mount Olympus, Zeus put his head on Hera's shoulder, and even the gods fell asleep. I don't want to tell you about what happened next. Oh, I know you know. About the trick that did it, the Trojan horse. I can't. About how the Greeks pretended to leave, and the Trojans rejoiced. They thought it was over, the war was over. But then that night, the Greeks snuck out. They started the slaughter and the burning, the sack of Troy. I'm not singing that song. The song of the murder of Priam. The song of the death of Achilles. The song of Hector's infant son thrown from the battlements. How the Greek soldier picked him up in one hand, and the baby laughed. The soldier's helmet reminded him of his father. He thought it was a game. The sound of the boy's head splitting on the pavement. The song of the Trojan women, all of them raped, kidnapped, taken to Greece. The song of Aeneas escaping with his father on his back. The song of Odysseus trying to find his way home. No, it's too much. All these songs. Imagine it for yourself. The destruction of a city or a civilization, you know what that looks like. It's like Alexandria. All that history lost. Like Constantinople, burning for weeks. Like Aztec temples razed, like Dresden, Hiroshima, like Sarajevo, like Kabul. I will tell you this. Cassandra saw them first. Priam and the wagon and the body of Hector. And Priam told his people about the ceasefire, that there'd be no war for 11 whole days. They could bury Hector the proper way. So they built a pyre, and they mourned him. And on the 10th night, they burned his body until the sun came up. And at last, when Young Dawn with her rose-red fingers shone once more. The people massed around illustrious Hector's pyre. And once they'd gathered, crowding the meeting ground, they first put out the fires with glistening wine wherever the flames still raged in all their fury. And they collected the white bones of Hector. His brothers, his friends in arms, mourning, and warm tears came streaming down their cheeks. They put the bones they found in a golden chest, shrouded round and round with soft purple claws. They quickly lowered the chest into a deep, hollow grave and piled over it a cope of huge stones closely set. And then they set lookouts all around for fear the Achaean combat troops might launch their attack before the time agreed. And having heaped the mound, they turned back home to Troy. Gathering once again, they shared a splendid funeral feast in Hector's honor, held in the house of Priam, king by will of Zeus. Hosoi gampie pontaphon Hectoros hippodamoio. And so the Trojans buried Hector, breaker of horses.
Guys, I think Mr. Walker carried that whole show.
Y'all reckon that one went to the restroom after this? I imagine you had to go to use the bathroom. You ain't allowed to take that.
It was so good today. So slay yours.